Hi folks, I'm Surly Salad, sulkily slinging soggy spinach.
I'm Amber.
And here's more soggy spinach for us to sling. We're like pot pie, except for instead of eating the spinach, we just throw it at other people, and so we empower them. So really, you might think it was rude of us, but it's an act of empowerment. Let's get started.
When you said pot pie, I first heard pot pie, and so I was really confused for a solid minute.
Maybe I did say pot pie. Maybe that's the correlative cartoon character in this universe. Pot Pie, the sailor pie. All right, folks, and our first letter is titled, Am I a jerk for telling my boyfriend that he crossed a line with my work-life balance? I am a 28-year-old female and I work long hours, intense hours at a high-pressure job, and my boyfriend, a 30-year-old male, knows this. Recently, I finally set boundaries to stop taking work calls after 7 p.m. This has helped me unwind and prioritize our time together, which he initially seemed to support. Last night, my boss called around 8:30 p.m., but I ignored it. My boyfriend asked why I didn't pick up, and I explained that I didn't want work intruding on my evening. To my shock, he picked up my phone and answered the call himself, saying, "Too busy relaxing to talk." I was mortified. My boss sounded annoyed, and I had to spend 30 minutes on the call only because he made it sound like I was slacking off. Afterwards, I was furious, and I told him that it wasn't his place to interfere with my work life like that. He thinks that I'm overreacting and that I should be ashamed of setting boundaries. Am I the jerk? All right, folks, what do you think?
No, not the jerk. Having a healthy work-life balance is imperative. There are few jobs where bosses should be calling at 8:30 at night. Like, certainly there are some, but I'm guessing this is probably not OP's industry. Like, they're not like an EMT or something.
Yeah, I mean, there's sometimes like technicians and stuff like that that are on call for, 24 hours during long periods of time and stuff like that.
But you're specifically on call for those periods of
Yeah.
time, and you're usually compensated, a low rate, but you're still compensated for being available during that time.
Yeah.
And this is not what's happening here. OP is trying to set reasonable boundaries to have a healthy work-life balance, and OP's boyfriend is out here trying to sabotage her job.
Well, I'm wondering if he is just getting annoyed at having to spend time with her in the evenings.
I mean, if he is, then why not break up with her instead of like throwing her to the wolves?
Well, I mean, certainly, like, I feel like it's kind of shows that he is a very rude individual, for one, right? And two, like, why wouldn't he want to enjoy the evening with his partner and
Mm-hmm.
instead, like, pull something like this, right?
Right. Like, what did he think he was going to accomplish? That feels like the thing that, like, a 13-year-old would do.
Yeah.
Like, someone who doesn't understand the seriousness of jobs,
Mm-hmm.
Uh, it doesn't feel like the thing that a mature adult would do to a partner they care about.
Mm-hmm. Well, and really feel like the boss is highly inappropriate here.
Absolutely.
Like, the boss should not be calling at 8:30 p.m. for work-related things. This boss needs to get a life.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they need to quit working at, after 5 p.m. or 6 p.m. whenever their working hours gets done, right? And they need to stop dragging OP until these long work hours. It's not healthy, and they need to be spending their time on recreational activities or, self-development or other things and not just work, right? All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy, right? As they say. As they say. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. And Maleficent Program 997 says, You already set a boundary by not answering your phone. Your boyfriend was way out of line. Please don't let him gaslight you into thinking that you're overreacting. That was way inappropriate and undermined you to your boss. And OP replies, Thank you. I won't let him make me feel guilty. Good. And Historical World 7179 says, Wow, this is really inappropriate. He just undermined you and damaged your relationship with your boss. To me, it's creepy that he even answers your phone at all unless there was an emergency, much less when he knows it's your boss calling. Edit for all the men unable to understand. Yes, prior to cell phones, we all answered landlines for each other. The very obvious difference is that those were almost always communal lines. Cell phones are not communal property in most cases, and unless you and your partner have agreed that you would like one another to answer each other's phones, Doing this can often be considered intrusive for both the person whose phone you answered and the caller who's not expecting to interact with you. If you are doing this in any way to screen your partner's calls or gain access to information that you wouldn't otherwise have, then you are engaging in abusive behavior. Examine your motives carefully. And OP replies, yeah, it was unsettling. I'm definitely setting stricter boundaries now, especially around my phone. So what do you feel about that comment?
I mean, I think it brought up a really important point that, yeah, back in the day, like the house phone rings, if you don't have caller ID, you have no idea who it is. So
Yeah.
you answer it to make sure it's not important. And there's nothing wrong with that. But in the day of cell phones, like OP could clearly see it was her boss. The boyfriend could clearly see it was her boss. And so he took away OP's agency. This wasn't an accidental, oh, I just picked up the landline and it happened to be your boss, come here.
Yeah.
It was oh, I intentionally did this.
Yeah.
So you would have to deal with this because I think you should still be working at 8:30 p.m.
Yeah. And I think that there's also a difference between sincerely answering a call to inform the person that they're not available, say they're like in the bathroom or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, answering the call rudely like this and being
Mm-hmm.
like, "Oh, she doesn't want to talk to you right now. She's on break," right?
Right, because like, if one of our phones, and we know it's someone that the other person would talk to, like a parent calls, we might pick it up and be like, oh yeah, I'll bring you to Brian, or oh, Brian's busy at the moment. I'll let him know you called, or something like that.
Hmm. Yeah, because oftentimes you don't want to sit there and play phone tag with somebody, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it might just make more sense to answer a phone for somebody. And but I think in this particular case, he was being extremely rude, and his intentions weren't honest here, right?
Right, he knew that OP didn't want to talk to them. It's not like, I would get some random telemarketer. Oh, Brian's getting this random telemarketer. Let me go, like,
Yeah.
make Brian talk to this person.
Yeah. All right, folks, and our next letter is titled, Am I a jerk for telling my sister that I won't be in her wedding if her fiance keeps joking about how attractive he finds me? My sister is a 29-year-old female and is getting married, and I'm a 27-year-old female, and I was super excited for her. Until her fiance started acting really weird around me. Whenever we're together, he makes these jokes about how I look, saying things like, if I had only met you first, and wow, beauty runs in the family, doesn't it? He's even made comments about how lucky I am to be single because I have so many options. It's awkward and honestly kind of gross. My sister is always right there, hearing these comments, but just laughs at them like they're just harmless jokes. When I finally told her that I was uncomfortable with how he was acting, she got defensive and brushed it off, saying that he was just being playful and appreciates my looks. She said that I should relax and not make a big deal out of it. Now, she wants me to be maid of honor, but I told her that I won't do it if he keeps making these comments. I'd love to support her, but the thought of standing up there, smiling and pretending like everything is okay, just doesn't sit well with me. My sister got really upset and accused me of being jealous and creating drama over nothing. Now my family is involved and they think that I'm being overly sensitive and ruining her big day. They keep saying, it's just one day, can't you put aside that for her? They think that I should be flattered by the attention and are acting like I'm blowing this way out of proportion. But to me, it feels disrespectful both to me and my sister that he keeps crossing this line and no one seems to care. So am I the jerk for standing my ground and saying that I won't be her maid of honor if she doesn't stop him from making these jokes? Should I just get over it for the sake of family and harmony, or do I have a point? All right, folks, what do you think?
No, absolutely not the jerk. These are not jokes. This is sexual harassment.
Mm-hmm.
And I do not trust this man not to act on this if he were to catch you alone.
Yeah.
Oh, I got a little tipsy. I thought you were your sister. Like, he is making it clear that you are an object to him that he sees in a sexual light.
Yeah.
He is repeatedly saying this. He wants OP to know how much he sees her in that light.
Yeah.
I would not want to be around him either. I would not trust his motives. I don't know why the sister isn't furious at him. I don't know why the family isn't furious at him, but this is absolutely a reason to not want to be around it. You are not obligated to put up with repeated sexual harassment.
No, and I think that's really what this boils down to. This is sexual harassment. It's an unwanted sexual advancement. And he keeps making these unwanted sexual advancements at OP. And I understand that the sister is probably not interested in confronting these kind of hard conversations because she wants to be the happy family and play happy family, right? She doesn't want to think about the consequences of what this would mean if she had to break things off with her creepy partner, right? So I think she's just rug sweeping. She's putting her head in the sand because she doesn't want to deal with the immediate real problem that exists. So I think that OP is absolutely in the right, and the rest of the family, they need to stand up for OP and say, look, it's really not good that he's sitting here harassing her like this. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. And Parfait Additional 469 says, not the jerk, your sister is wild for staying with a guy who clearly doesn't have boundaries. And Colic and Nogenic says, the rage I would have had if my man was making these comments, whoa, there would be no wedding. And Functional Aggressive 75 says, this plus rage that I would have if my family thought that I should be flattered by this. What in the world? Alright folks, and our next letter is titled, Husband, a 34-year-old male, confessed to a private conversation with my sister, a 27-year-old female, about a threesome. How would you feel? I'm a 33-year-old female, and I had a weird vibe the last week about my husband, a 34-year-old male, and sister, a 27-year-old female. We've been married for 8 years, together for 13, 2 kids. I confronted my husband about it, and he denied anything at first. The next time I brought it up, he confessed that my sister and him had a conversation earlier in the week that they wanted us all to have a threesome. I was not part of that conversation. I guess they talked about it after many drinks while I was putting the kid to bed, about 10 minutes. He said that they wanted me to come back to the living room and discuss it with them, but then I fell asleep with the kids, so I never joined the conversation. Then, a few days later, they talked about it again and decided that it was probably a bad idea. Then, a few days later, the 3 of us were having some drinks and my husband started to rub my foot, but then he grabbed my sister's and started rubbing hers. I got a super weird vibe and I shut this down. I was still in the dark about their conversation, so then, after the whole foot rub thing, the next day is when I asked him why I was getting this feeling, and he finally admitted to their conversations. He said nothing has ever happened between them, and that they had wanted me to be a part of the conversation the whole time. But no, I'm mad and I feel betrayed. How upset would you be? Alright folks, what do you think?
I mean, divorce territory. Like, he has proven and your sister has proven that they are untrustworthy. This is not how these type of things should be happening. If you are thinking about going outside, like opening your marriage, that conversation needs to happen with your partner only. And generally, siblings should be off limits.
Yeah, how creepy is
Yeah.
this? Like, I would be creeped out if I were OP. Like, this is just not acceptable. It's a creepy request, and I understand that if they want to have their own little threesome with somebody, then they need to get together. They need to OP and their husband need to get divorced. Sister and OP's husband, ex-husband, could get together and find all the threesomes in the world that they want to have, right? But this is not something that they, the inappropriateness of even breaching this boundary, right? He should have shut this down immediately when those conversations were coming up. He's married. He's in a monogamous relationship. There's been no indication that they would even open up the relationship, not to mention with their sister of all people, right? So, yeah, a wildly inappropriate request. And, yeah, I don't blame OP for being upset about this at all. They should be upset.
Well, they should be. I mean, it's just so horrifying because there are only 2 possibilities. One, they expect OP to get intimate with their sister,
Yeah.
which is not cool. Or 2, they would be like, oh, well, since you 2 are related, we'll just have separate time,
Yeah.
which I think is probably the option husband was going for, a way to have an intimate time with the sister.
Yeah.
But moreover, he's not even trustworthy here because he's like, nothing happened, but he was like rubbing feet with the sister right in front of OP.
Yeah. Yeah. How do you feel about this story compared to the last story?
I feel like they're both very creepy stories, and this was like an additional layer of creepy,
Yeah.
but like they both, I do not get warm fuzzies about either of them.
No, I don't either. It feels like kind of the inverse situation almost, where the sister in the first one was like perfectly fine with this, like practically inviting him to hit on her and stuff like that. Not practically, inviting him to hit on her.
And just saying you should just feel flattered.
Yeah, yeah. And this one is pretty much kind of the same thing, but opposite with the other sister, right? So my advice here is that maybe those four people in this situation, they can all find each other. All right, folks, and our next letter is titled, Today I Messed Up by Looking at My Girlfriend's AI Conversations. This one actually is nice and fresh. I only found out a little while ago, and I'm mostly writing this to make me feel a little better. I won't give many details for anonymity. My girlfriend of around 3 years and I have quite a strong relationship, and I admit that she's done nothing but treat me well. No reason to be suspicious of anything. We have our disagreements, as any couple does, and her usual method of approaching serious conversation often comes as long-winded text messages that take her, on average, numerous hours to write. Once, it took an entire day to hear back from her. This is an important piece of context for later. While this may not be perfectly matched with what I think of as the optimal way to solve a problem, it was perfectly fine with her choosing that way, until now, that is. I was getting ready to type out a paper on my PC when I realized there were numerous tabs open from when my girlfriend had last borrowed it to do the same. I was closing them down until I stumbled upon her Snapchat, which was open to the My AI feature. And it seemed that that was the only thing that she used the app for in ages. She was using a cheeky bit of AI assistance on her essays, which I didn't judge her for. However, a couple of thoughts came to me that made me inclined to start scrolling to see what else she had asked the AI. Part of me wanted to genuinely figure out her weak points in writing so that I could help her on her next paper. Another part of me wanted to find something slightly embarrassing so that me and her could have a laugh about it later. Like a saucy message. All of me was pretty assured that, from my understanding, the AI message box wasn't anything of a private or serious place to put sensitive information, especially considering that Snapchat would have likely automatically deleted any messages she wouldn't have wanted anybody else seeing. Whether this assumption or the scrolling up itself was a mess up, I'm not sure, but around here is where I 100% messed up and I could not go back. Past the sAdvice, I found long messages typed out seemingly saved for later use. I recognized it as a message or very similar version of a message that I was sent before as we mended our feelings after an argument. I thought it was genuinely a normal practice as I had tons of info saved within DMs of bots before, but what caught me off guard was that it wasn't her who sent the message, it was the bot. At that point, my heart sank and I kept scrolling so that I could confirm or deny that it was what I seemed. Unfortunately, my fears were confirmed when I found a history of mainly two things. One was her just genuinely venting and complaining about me and my actions, which is something that I can't fault her for. Personally, I think that bots are too focused on giving a desired answer to have any real say in any real-world conflicts, but if it was cathartic for her, I see no problem with her venting her anger. It was the other portion that made me want to hurl. All I was seeing was clear evidence that multiple of the long-winded messages that I thought that she had painstakingly wrote for me were actually produced by an AI. The gimmicky Snapchat AI nonetheless. She was trying to workshop the messages over and over, trying to get the AI to write it in a way that evoked a specific emotion in me or better capture her stance. Seeing all of this was honestly crushing, especially considering that I myself do personal and academic writing as an important part of my life. And not only was I made into a fool who fell for a robot's words of love, but I was also and am just left so disappointed in her and myself for giving genuine credence to the messages that she didn't even come up with. I honestly think that my only option is to try to pretend that it didn't happen. Now that I know it was a serious forum for help, I see that I totally should have not snooped. Played with fire, I got burned, but I still feel like this will take time to see past, and that I'll always be checking in the future, questioning her messages, and just how long she actually spent writing them. Plus, there's bonus sadness in the fact that I end up reading a tirade that was correct about me being a pretty bad boyfriend. Safe to say that it wasn't the best idea. Edit. Hey y'all, I think the real messed up today was making a post expecting about 5 replies and getting like 50. But nonetheless, I appreciate everyone who commented. Even the guy who tried to debunk my whole story. I see you, guy. No. I wanted to explain a crucial detail that I didn't elaborate very well, and many people are getting hung up on this. To make things clear, from what I saw on the computer and my understanding of the order of events in terms of messages, this was not a pre-written message that had been filtered and refined. It was a message that was almost spawned completely by the AI. Frankly, if you think that doesn't have a deep level of invalidation to the words being produced, then we must agree to disagree. I would like everyone to imagine that they are a person with a deep appreciation for visual arts. Now say your partner comes to you with a handmade painting that depicts a vivid emotion. Beautiful, right? Now I would like you to do that scenario again, but imagine that they had instead put a string of loosely related yet individually striking words into a text box, and in a minute or so had an app produce a photo trying to depict whatever a robot thinks those exclusively human emotions are. Then they presented that photo to you as a gift. Can it be touching? Yes. Did that partner make the photo? No. It's not the same realm as being personable. There's such a disconnect that it's hard to take seriously, especially because as an artist, you are constantly monitoring and rejoicing over your partner's accomplishments in the same art. So I feel betrayed giving a lot of thought and appreciation towards a style that was literally a figment of mechanical imagination and not truly indicative of her. It feels like garbage when you've been writing programs for years and get emotionally jebaited by a microwave with a Wi-Fi connection somewhere in the dank warehouse across the globe. It makes you feel really dumb. Edit 2. Wow, I became an Edit 2 guy and I've hit a new low. I'm going to make a stance on AI that I can tell will divide your opinion. Hate me for it, whatever, but to understand my point, you must understand that I think that many people are totally misrepresenting AI here, so here's it goes. The AI does not take time or effort, it's almost instant and can provide countless pages of information with even prompts that don't even adhere to basic grammar. Workshopping with AI is not indicative of any kind of care. The very transaction from prompt AI to output kills the human element outright. That's because AI works almost have no criteria that would make me think that the prompt creator has any right to claim the words it outputs. Why? Because the words came from nowhere, with literally no thought prior. The words did not even exist in the prompter's mind before they were put on the screen. That's a crucial consideration that we as humans operate by thinking of things, then doing them / making them happen. If the thinking is out of the equation, that's more closely resembling an accident or a coincidence. If you want another metaphor that helps to illustrate my point, you order a slice of pizza, you get it and tell the cashier to take it back and make it differently. You ask time after time with them trying to meticulously adhere to your instructions and create the exact pizza slice that you envision. It comes out perfectly, you pay, and you leave with a slice. Did you make that pizza? If your answer doesn't boil down to no, then I'm afraid we simply think of this on a completely different fundamental level. All I'm saying is, if you bring that slice to me and then you say that you made it, I'm calling BS. Also, I appreciate all the solidarity, but remember that I'm not looking for people to demonize my girlfriend. She still is the love of my life, and frankly, I don't think that this is anything to break up over, not even close to be honest, but maybe a tough confrontational conversation, but this is the sort of thing that's way too small for me to call it quits. All right, folks, what do you think?
I mean, I can understand OP's frustration here. I do wonder about his motives for digging through Snapchat.
Yeah,
He seems to like to justify it a lot,
yeah.
and I have a feeling that there was more digging going on than he likes to admit.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't think he's coming to this from a pure place. I do want to make that clear.
I want to interject just for a moment, right? Where he talks about how she's venting to the AI
Mm-hmm.
and he admits that he's a terrible boyfriend,
Mm-hmm.
right? So we have established that he is not a great boyfriend.
Mm-hmm.
But then he's reading all these messages and stuff like that. So continue on. I just wanted to interject that.
Well, and then like on top of that, he's like, "Oh, I just couldn't help myself. I kept reading one after the other, after the other." Like he had to do a real deep dive in this too.
Yeah, I could not help myself. I was compelled to be a terrible boyfriend by reading her Snapchat, which I should have closed the moment I saw it open and not snoop through her private Snapchat information, right?
Right. But, ignoring how he came to the information,
Yeah.
I can understand being frustrated if your partner is just throwing prompts to an AI and taking the output as though
Yeah.
it's their
Yeah.
own. Because, like, there's a big difference between writing something and then, say, plugging it into Grammarly or something and being like, please fix my grammar.
Yeah.
We don't always get everything right on the first pass. Not everyone is great with grammar and at saying exactly what they want to say on their own, and they need to bounce things off. Like, I think that's one thing, but it's a completely different thing to just be like, hey, AI, write this thing for me.
I mean, I agree. I think that you can't really claim it as your own. I do think that it's using AI as a collaboration tool can be useful, right? I think bouncing ideas off of an AI is perfectly acceptable. There isn't anything wrong with trying to, because like we use thesauruses,
Mm-hmm.
right? To kind of build off his metaphor of the pizza, right? So if you use a thesaurus to get ideas about words or a dictionary to find, new words that you want to come up with, and you sprinkle those words onto your pizza, right? Does that mean that you didn't make the pizza, right?
No, because you did the legwork of like finding the new words and
Mm-hmm.
incorporating them into the existing document.
And so if you use AI and you're trying to think of like a feeling or an emotion or something like that, and you just don't have like the articulation that you're looking for, and you're like, can you think of a way of describing X, Y, and Z?
Well, that's actually a really good, interesting thing you bring up. So there's a book called The Emotion Thesaurus that you
Mm-hmm.
can use as a writer, because as a writer, you're supposed to show and not tell. And so figuring out how to portray and characterize an emotion can be really difficult.
Mm-hmm.
And so I will use that. I also have in the past, and I still do sometimes just Google how to describe anger, how to describe sadness.
Yeah.
And like, I don't just take things as they're written, but it does help to sometimes see how other people have framed these things, how other people talk about them.
Yeah. So I think that there's certainly a place for AI, and I think that maybe the girlfriend is, you know, not using AI in the most productive way, right? Because like clearly she's spending a lot of time going back and forth and trying to get the AI to produce the exact result that she's looking for, which at that point in time, like you can
Just write it out
see, write
yourself.
it out yourself. Like take the ideas that the AI has given you, like you can use that as a framework to kind of like build off of, or even have the AI help you build an outline or organize your thoughts in some kind of meaningful way. You're like, I have all these things that are on my mind. I need you to help me to organize them, right? Sometimes it can be helpful to see your thoughts organized out and then help you build the skills to organize your own thoughts and your own questions in the future, right? So I think certainly like a teacher, for instance, will help their students organize their thoughts and help them kind of understand how to outline, how to build things. That doesn't mean that the student, when they were learning how to do this, didn't still write the content or write and produce stuff. They had assistance and they had feedback from a teacher. And I think that you can use AI in those kinds of ways as well. So I think that she's not putting the right kind of effort in. And I think she's costing herself a lot of time because she's spending too much time trying to get the AI to produce the exact thing that she wants without sitting down and writing it herself.
Well, yeah, and I mean, I think it's a very fine line with AI too. I want to
Yeah.
be very clear. It's tricky to know where it counts as your own work and where not. And I generally think like if it's like light editorial stuff, that's fine. But if you're having it actually do substantive stuff, then it's not really your own anymore, and you should be crediting the AI like you would credit a person if they were writing this for you.
Yeah.
Um, so I just wanted to clarify my AI position.
Well,
But
I think that should apply generally to copywritten works, right? And I mean, certainly like individual communication styles and stuff like that, it would be, I think, kind of awkward to be like, this was written by AI or something like
well, I
that, right?
mean, I do think if you're using AI significantly in your communication, that should be made clear.
I mean, that might be fair. I think there's going to be a lot of ethical discussions about these kinds of topics in the future, and it's really hard to know where that line exists and whatnot, and what what is going to be qualified as something you should attribute and whatnot, right?
Well, because, and then just my feeling, but usually in spoken conversation, if I can remember who said something and I'm borrowing an idea from them, I will credit them and be like, because, oh, blah, blah, blah,
Yeah.
like blah, blah, blah said. So I think it's always good to give credit where credit is due when you can.
I mean, I think that's fair. I think that's fair.
But I think the biggest thing is probably she just needs to dump him.
Yeah. I
I
mean,
mean, it sounds like she's spending all her time, venting to this AI about how terrible he is and trying to write messages conveying her frustration.
mhm.
And yeah, it doesn't sound like a great relationship.
No, it doesn't. One last small thing. I mean, we're way over time at this point in time, but what do you think of him and his whole, I want to find something in her writing to either help her improve or make fun of her?
Yeah, see, oh my goodness, the make fun of her thing, I was like, I mean, I don't think either of them is good. Like, if you want to help your partner improve your writing, be like, hey, can you give me a writing sample? I'd like to help you improve. Like, do you want to do that? But like, don't just dig through their private stuff and be like, oh, hey, I was reading this thing you wrote in Snapchat, and you use blah 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 words way too much. Like, that's not good. But then the whole like, I want something to tease her about. Like, I'm gonna invade your privacy so I can find something to make fun of you over.
Yeah, I thought both of those were in extraordinarily poor taste, and I actually kind of wanted to expand on him trying to help her out.
Mm-hmm.
No one wants unsolicited advice. Don't go snooping through someone's inbox and be like, oh, here's some unsolicited advice for you, right?
Right. It's one thing to offer your skill set to, like, if you notice that someone, struggles with something, be like, hey, would you like feedback on this? And if they say no, you drop it. But it's another thing entirely to like do this unsolicited feedback and be like, here, I took your paper, I marked it up. Hope you enjoy.
But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. All right, folks, it is tea time. Grab your beverages of choice. I've got some tea right here, and Amber, she has a joke.
My sister's teddy bear is never hungry. It's always stuffed.
There you have it, folks. It's a grizzly bear that's well fed. And I have licorice spice. All right, folks, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for watching. Happy, fantastic Friday, folks. I hope your Friday is off to a fantastic start. Amber, we need some kind of moral advice and or guidance, and please have it on reasonable boundaries in relationships.
It's important to have reasonable boundaries in relationships and to be able to communicate things. I mean, that could apply, I think, for like basically all our stories today.
Yeah. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you all tomorrow.
Bye.